Greetings, welcome back to Lantern Bridge. I wanted to share something that's been going on for a while now. My son had gone to China and had a surprise horrible operation, and it sort of threw me in a existential crisis in terms of what do I really believe in. He was there visiting his grandfather who had cancer. And last Sunday, the 13th of April, he finally passed. He was in a coma, and we still said our goodbyes through the video phone, and they removed the respiratory help. And he died within 5 minutes after we said goodbye. So yeah, that ended. And, obviously in the course of this search, I've gone into a really, I think I was so focused on trying to fill that void, so scared of the void, or do we become one with the void, that existential, we're all on our own type, when the crap hits the fan. So you can't fill it. Anytime you try to fill that, Simone Weil says that's a sin. You fill it with alcohol. You fill it with a coping mechanism instead of just accepting. And what I learned is that space, God, whatever you want to call it, let's say he had to leave. Since God is everything, there can't be any separation. So for us to exist as conscious sentient beings on any planet, he's got to go. It's like, I don't know, people have to die to make way for the next generation. God had to die on the cross to let us be free, to give us the chance to do good on our own, to choose love, to choose solidarity, to choose helping the stranger, the weak, the poor. So I think maybe God did die, or is so far gone. I don't know those details. I know we're here. I know that there's a space, a Lucana, a divine Lucana, a missing, an alcove that is terrifying. And at the same time, it's sort of like an imprint, a space in the shape of God that's gone. And the reason is because he or she, or whatever you want to call it, wants more love in the world and is taking the risk, the chance. We can all become, imperialistic, cannibal, a nightmare, or we can create a world of peace. That's up to us. I believe when we do small acts of kindness, God isn't a being. God is an event, a thing that happens that doesn't make sense. In the animal world, they're not going to help you. They're going to eat you, eat the weak. So God is weakness. Look at that weakness. And then look what happened to Rome in a blink of an eye, cosmologically gone. They became Christian, supposedly. So, back to, people dying. So my father-in-law, he was a quirky little guy, and I did love him. It was very difficult. He lived with us for a number of years with his wife, and there was a lot of conflict due mainly to communication issues. They didn't speak English, and they're very old school communist, set in their ways, and it was a lot of culture clash. They came to Australia. I'm American. My wife's Chinese. There were some major conflicts, but never so much with him. but he had to side with his wife. Anyway, through that I saw how much he loved my son. He would take him to the park 2 to 4 times a day, like a 4-block walk up to this park, spend an hour there, come back, lunch, go back, whatever he demanded. So you can imagine firstborn grandson for Chinese can get a bit out of hand. He used to just, when the baby was born, he would just sit in the dark next to him while he slept. I'm like, you don't have to, we've got baby monitors. I'm like, asked my wife why, just in case there's some breathing problem or whatever. So something strange happened. After he died, I think it was the next day or whatever, my son and I were in his room just before my son was going to bed. The door was open, so there was light from the outside, but his room was dim. And he's talking to me in the room, and I'm just in the room. And my son says something to the effect of, I wonder if Lao Ye, which means grandfather from the mother's side, I wonder if Lao Ye will visit me. And that instant, now I'm not trying to cheapen anything or exploit anything at all. I'm just telling you what happened because it's somewhat interesting in light of all of this cosmic talk. But he said, I wonder if my grandfather will visit me or hear us or something like that. The instant he said that, on the 4th of July when you have sparklers and you squiggle them and there's an after image, real bright, like you can barely see. It was sort of like that. It was a squiggle of light, but it was electric blue with sort of a white center. Right behind him, and it looked like it was being projected on, he has a oversized tennis ball that he got from the Australian Open years ago. Anyway, that was behind my son, and on that, there's this squiggle, and I went, do you have a nightlight on or something? He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, and there's a window, and I thought, maybe my first thing was that it was a police siren flash or something. There was no sound, but then I looked, and it's impossible. The window was closed and not angled for any light to come in, and that's never happened. There was no night light, and I'm like, just check. You've got a blue reflector or something, or a plastic toy that could, partially transparent. There was nothing there, blue, nothing of any light. And in my conversations with, I'm just called him Magister, Nicholas Schreck, I had an incident where he corrected me because I picked the wrong color when I was experiencing, when I was trying to meditate during a panic attack. And I had focused on a white light, and he's like, don't pick that. That's death. And because I was having fears of death, and I didn't know these color systems. He said, you should have picked blue. That's calming. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Okay. And so this blue light, I called it a squiggle. And I've looked it up, and people experience, balls of light and squiggles. And blue is calming and protective. So if this was something, if this was something a bit out there, it would be out of love from the grandfather, and we welcome that and are thankful. But one thing I have really learned from Nicholas is these things happen they're not special. You don't have to change your whole life and become a ghost hunter. Just let these things happen. And I really appreciate those lessons and his take on it. Because these supernatural incidents, whatever you want to call them, they can really dominate you and take you away from the real mission which is becoming weak in terms of loving where you don't get anything out of it, you know. So I just wanted to update. I feel strong. I feel at peace. I'm not. There are so many varieties of Christianity. Like if I say I'm a Christian, like I'm first thinking like of the worst kinds of Christians, the televangelist, the Bible thumper. You're all wrong. I hate. That's nothing to do with what I'm doing. I'm tempted to say I'm a Gnostic Christian, but I'm not. I don't believe the world was a mistake. I think it's a risk. I think God left and he had to leave, had to die to create space for us to be free and make our own choices and make this a heaven or a hell, to create tiny events of love. And in that event, God does exist through those acts of kindness, through the people. I'll go more into this. And I understand if people are like, this isn't what I signed up for, on this channel. I'm interested in talking still to, I'm not like, oh, I found something that works for me. Everything else is crap. I can't learn anything else. No, of course not. I'll have, modern LHP people on here if they want. Christians, Gnostics, Buddhists, and everything in between, as an exploration of, different ways of looking at God. This is something that's resonating with me, that has all come together. And finally, and I do want to say my father-in-law, he was supposed to be dead like a month ago. He was in a coma before, and my wife, she organized all her jobs, and she was back in China from Australia the next day. And I was just like, because he looked so bad, I was like, I hope that you make it, Jing, because I wasn't sure. And not only that, she came with my son again, and everybody came. I think that he lived on. I think he got another month, and it wasn't all bad. He got to, there was a lot of pain and suffering, but he got to say goodbye. He got to see everybody in the flesh again. But finally, it's just time. It's okay. You've fought hard enough. You've lived a month more than they thought. And it was sort of like, it's okay. You can go. And he looked so bad. In my heart, I was like, when I said goodbye, I was hoping, I don't even know if he could really hear me. But it was like, you can go. You fought hard enough. So I feel a big, end of this chapter that started when my son was had an operation and I had this crisis. I dug down, I've explored, and the void, I really learned a lesson. I was trying to fill it. I was trying to understand it. I was trying to, but the void, that nothingness is, in my opinion, the space that God left so that we could be free. And although it is terrifying, we are on our own. Father, why have you forsaken me? To me, that's the most important verse in the Bible, and every human can say that. Where are you, God? The world can be so bad. On the cross, even God became an atheist for that moment, and we find solidarity in that. Strength, I think. And don't try to mitigate or fill that void. Just accept it and get strength from it as a sign, thank you for leaving, so that we could exist. My father-in-law has left. Other generations will exist. So, it's nice to try to put a bow on things and not have anything complicated, or, there's a billion loose ends here. I'm on a long journey as you are, and I'm just sharing mine and hope it might inspire a few people. Please subscribe. I hate saying that on this, but the truth is it's so that this message, if it is good, if it is right, it can get to the right people. That's why I'm doing this. And talking through it helps me. So there is that selfish reason. So, I appreciate everybody here. And, if you're expecting just more, as it was, if you looked at some of my older work, more occult oriented, I think for myself, have found that approach isn't necessarily working for me when the chips are down, and I've opened myself up and have stated that. If it does work for you, that's great. But what is your approach to the void? Have you really faced it? And these modern systems that you're supporting on, how did they strengthen you? So I'd love to hear the counterpoint in the comments, with respect to everybody. It's just sort of hard to, I was into the occult as an alternative, the only alternative I could see to encounter the real, the void, but without fully understanding what it really meant. So that's where I've been. Thanks, and blessings on your journey, and rest in peace. My father-in-law. Thank you.